So in this video, I'm going to attempt to kind of go over, I guess I'd call it a somewhat brief overview of how to change your gears in a Gen 9 M4A1. I'm speaking to Gen 9 M4A1 from AKGELBLASTER in this video, and all the upgrade parts are from AKGELBLASTER. I'm going to kind of do an abbreviated version because it's a long process and it would take a long time for me to show you every single step. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the steps and hopefully that's adequate. I'm going to post a link to like a 2-hour long video that's super in depth when it comes to opening up and building a gearbox. So you can always check that if you need to. I want to say a big thank you to Corey from Australia. He's a friend of mine who really helped me just learn more about blasters in general, and he builds from scratch, so he definitely knows what he's doing. So with your Gen 9, I already had the barrel taken off. So the barrel of the Gen 9 is not as easy to take off as the M4A1 at all as a Gen 8, but if there's a, like a little pinch ring and a few other things, but hopefully you can figure that out. I did not have that handy for the video, so we'll just talk about the receiver here and the buffer tube. Buffer tube has you need a long screwdriver, Phillips head to reach in here and unscrew, because you can see that's screwed in down there. When it comes to the actual receiver itself, you got a pin, like basically a bolt type thing right here and right here. You're gonna use an Allen wrench to take those out. You've got just a pin that goes through here, so you're gonna use a punch to kind of push that through. And then you just need to unscrew your mag release on this side. This just slides right off, right? So you can take that off. And then when it comes to getting the gearbox out of here, it's a very tight fit in these. You gotta make sure you turn this to safety, and then you should be able to get it out. But if the selector's not turned to safety, I don't think you can get it out. So once you do that, you're gonna open up your gearbox. So in this case, you again just need an Allen wrench. You've got a bunch of little Allen wrench bolts. You're gonna take them all out, carefully open it up, take a picture of it so you know where everything goes, because I've been taught the easiest way to do this is to clear everything out of your gearbox first. Clear everything out, even wipe all the grease out of there so that you've got kind of a clean slate to start with. It's gonna make it easier when it comes to shimming your metal gears, okay? First thing is I have a new motor that I'm going to use with these two. So since I have a new motor, I put my new motor in here. If you're going to reuse your motor, that's fine. With the kit that you get from AKGELBLASTER, they are going to give you a metal pinion gear that you can go ahead and pull this one off and replace with this one. Now your metal pinion gear does have a little set screw, and they include the little set screw with the kit, and they also include a little Allen wrench to be able to tighten that on. So this one, the plastic one, you'll just pop off. You'll basically have to pry it off. And you can see even on this factory one, they did have a little shim on there to get the pinion gear higher. So with this, if you have the little set screw, you wouldn't need that. So the first thing you're gonna do after you clear everything out is go ahead, you're gonna unscrew this, you're gonna take your motor out, put that on, or put a different motor in here and screw this back in tight like you'd have it ready. So you can see right there, you can see my pinion gear. And you're gonna start lining it up, and you're gonna first start with the bottom gear, okay? So this one is your bevel gear. So you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna push this in. You're gonna take these others, won't be in here. You'll put this in here, you're gonna close it up. You're gonna use a couple of the screws after you close it up, right? Screw it down a couple places like here and up there, and then hold this in all the way tight like it would be connected. And then you're gonna see, first actually before you even do close it up, just go ahead and insert this, and you're gonna see where the bevel lines up on, where the pinion gear lines up on the bevel gear, okay? So if you don't need to adjust anything, that's great, but you're probably gonna need to put a shim down below, because you're gonna wanna make sure that this lines up with the bottom here, the bottom gear here, and that there's just a tiny bit of play, a very tiny bit of play. So once you've got that shim properly from the bottom, you're gonna close it up, and then put this in, and then kind of reach inside and look, and then make sure that there's not too much side-to-side action, because that's when you would put a shim on the top. okay? And the shims come in different sizes. So you've got all kinds of different sizes, 0.5, 0.1. So those are going to be needed too. So obviously 0.1 is the smallest, 0.5, I think that's the largest one I have. I'm not sure if they come bigger than that. So once you set that up and you've got that shim just right and you think it's perfect, there's not much play side to side, this lines the pinion lines up good with the bevel gear, then you can move on to the spur gear, which is this one right here. So you're going to put this, put this one in, and then put this one in, and then you're going to go ahead and make sure that everything lines up nicely. Again, you may have to put a shim on the bottom, close it, and then make sure this isn't moving too much side to side. You may need to put a shim on top, and then you're done with that. Now, this is a long process because you keep opening and closing this, putting screws in, making sure things are moving nicely. Last, you get to your sector gear, and you're going to go ahead and do the same thing again. See, you can see here, I needed one shim on top of this. I needed a shim under each one of these, but otherwise, pretty good. So there you go. So that's what you're going to do. Obviously, like I said, this is super abbreviated. Hopefully, that helps you understand how this works. If you need a more in-depth one, which you certainly might, then I would go ahead and watch that really long video, which I might even have to refer to at different times as well. So I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to this, but I think that gives you a good overview of what you're trying to accomplish with this. So once you've got it all, all these exactly where you think they need to be, you'd close it up, you'd reach in there, you'd make sure that everything is spinning nicely and freely. It's not going to spin this freely because it's going to be tighter, but it should be able to spin nicely, okay? So that's what you're going to do there. Of course, replacing stuff like your cylinder is very easy once you get to this point since everything is out of here, so that shouldn't be very hard to do, okay? Don't forget, the spring actually, this is from the motor, so that would go on your motor when you push your motor back in here. So this one has one in there that you can't see. Of course, once we get everything put back together in here, I'll have to take the motor out, of course, after I get that all closed up, because you're going to have to put those screws back into the bottom of the gearbox and then put the motor in, okay? So, again, very quick, very abbreviated, but that tells you what you need to do. Replacing the barrel, I'm also going to replace to a metal inner barrel while I'm at it, and I'm going to replace to a bigger spring while I'm at it as well. In this case, an M95 spring. So hopefully that helps out. Again, I'm no expert, but I think this was a good little abbreviated kind of some tips and tricks. And, if you have questions, feel free to ask me. If I don't know the answer, then I will do my best to find the answer. Like I said, I have some good resources where I can. When it comes to the anti-reverse latch, this thing can be a pain in the butt to stay in place. When you try to close it up, that goes back here. You'll see it when you take it off. This is a little 3D printed piece that is really nice because what this does is it's going to hold that in place so that when I put it all back together, that I can then just kind of pull this out and shut the gearbox on it, because that can get very frustrating how it wants to pop around and it doesn't want to stay where it needs to go. And that's really the worst part now, is once you go to put it back together, getting everything where it needs to go and getting it closed up and lined up can kind of be a pain sometimes. So you need to have some patience, which is definitely a short suit of mine. But everyone, if you've got a little bit of if you're a little bit mechanically inclined and you're willing to take something on like this, I think you should go ahead and do it. Just know it will probably take you a couple hours the first time that you do it. And like I said, take video or pictures so you know where everything goes to go back in after the fact. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Again, like videos, comment, ask questions, and share my channel with your friends and participate in those monthly giveaways. Thanks.